Hey, it's Harry. You're about to listen to Building, the podcast charting our journey to starting 1225, the audience first growth marketing agency. We want our podcast to be a very open and transparent look around the journey of starting an agency. And you're about to listen to one of the very first episodes where we haven't even decided the agency name, so you'll notice that does not get mentioned throughout these early episodes. We hope you enjoy listening.
We got the first draft of our website design back and over. What were your initial thoughts?
Obviously risky business for me is probably how I'd describe it. My partner is designing the website, but it's been way and above where I thought we'd be for a first draft. And what I mean by that is not that I didn't have faith in being able to deliver something good, but we've been doing this 10 plus years in the web design world. The first draft is never great. And it was a lot closer to where I thought we'd be, to the point that we went through writing amends and things like that. One of the questions I asked him was around, if you were to start from scratch, would you be fully remote? Would you have an office? Would you be somewhere in between? And he was a big advocate for, not so much now, like totally different place, right? There are like 50 plus people hired essentially all over the country and in some cases all over the world as well. But he was like, if he was starting again from scratch, he would be very much pro office, pro that, almost like nucleus of people where the heartbeat of the company is day to day bouncing ideas off each other and like driving and innovating forward.
The other benefit of an office is to allow other people to come in and collaborate with us, like you say, George with the video, or designers coming in just to chat and kind of talk to people and all of that. Plus it gives us a face for clients, because clients can actually come to the office as well. We can meet, we can go out for lunch and so on. So all for the office. Hello and welcome to episode number 10 of Building. It's our podcast that charts our journey as we start to set up our own growth marketing agency. I'm Brendan and I'm joined today by my co-founder, Harry. Hello, Harry.
Hey, Brendan. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks. So episode 10, kind of 10 weeks essentially, because we've been recording these podcasts every week for the past 10, and it's been our kind of first 2 months of kind of setup. And this podcast just talks through kind of the activity that we've done in the previous week, what we're planning to do the next week, and also Harry brings a topic to the table, which is my favourite segment because I get to listen to some magic. So Harry, another big week?
It's been a week of highs and lows. I'd say probably our first one like that as well. We've very much been building momentum, if you like, over the last 10 weeks, which is crazy that it's been that long. It feels like yesterday we were recording that first episode the night before we were going to hand in our notice and set off on this journey. But since then, like I said, we've been building positive momentum every week. A lot more sales opportunities than I think we initially thought we'd have, which has been great. But we've started to, first time having a few down moments as well. But it's been quite the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think in terms of, well, for me, in terms of what I've been doing this week, it's been kind of focused back on client delivery, which has been a journey, again, a journey of rediscovery. It's been a while since I've done some of the tasks. So I've had to spend probably a little bit more time than usual, like redoing some of that, because it's knowledge that if you don't do it like day to day, you need to kind of relearn some elements. So, but I've enjoyed it. A tech audit for our first kind of client who we're working with. So that's been the thrust of my kind of work. And then, well, for both of us, it's been sales conversations and the calls and the proposals. So shall we start with the not as good news in terms of one client? And obviously you were leading on that. So do you want to talk us through that?
We've had our first no, is the way that I would describe it. So we had some incredibly positive sales conversations. I think one of our first leads, and when we initially spoke to them, they were very keen on working with us. The challenge that we had initially was just the time frame in which to pitch. I think we had to turn something around over the first bank holiday weekend in May in order to have it back to them on the Tuesday, so they could then go into their review process, as they were a little bit further behind considering us. But the reason they were further behind is obviously they didn't know we were off to do our own thing. conversations had progressed pretty well, I'd say. Since then to the end of last week, we were expecting the decision this week. That decision has been made, and unfortunately, they have decided to. My understanding, at least, is remain with their existing agency. Now, there are obviously a bunch of thoughts around that, and like fully respect their decision. And if that's the right decision for them, like that's great. Like that's the right thing for them to do. But I do think, in fact, I think I mentioned it on last week's pod around. I've been listening to people say like, don't get too emotionally attached to sales, and I'd called it out actually that of everything that we've spoken about, every sales conversation we've had, everything that we've done, including putting not an insignificant amount of money into the business, like there's been no real emotion to any of that. It's been very much, this is just the right thing to do. This is very logical, step by step building, if you'd like. Whereas I had become a bit emotionally attached to this opportunity, I think, because it was so unexpected. Like, came out of the blue. They seemed very keen. Like, my gut on it was like 75, 80% ready to close, even from the first conversation. So when we got that no yesterday, like, I'll be honest, I was fuming for a good hour and a half or so. Went for a run, calmed down, felt better about things. And as you said, there was a huge number of positives from it. Like, considering that was our first one that we turned around in like 5 days, I hand on heart believe you'd have had no idea. Like, the quality of that proposal was high. Obviously not 10 out of 10, but it was pretty close to, considering how quickly we had to turn that around. We got a bit of a deck template out of things. And by the sounds of things, which we'll know more next week because we've asked for some feedback, and they have come back saying that we can have a call next week, which is great. It sounds like it came down to price, and that in some regards we were their preferred option. So if we're ever going to lose anything, I'd rather lose it on price than anything else. So yeah, a bit of a roller coaster over the last 24 hours, but I'm feeling more positive about things now.
Yeah, fair. No, and again, like, good work for all of that, because you did have to kind of speed through it and get things done. It was like as quick like opportunity that we had to jump on. But look, we got learnings out of it, and hopefully the feedback next week can help us even more in terms of kind of taking that forward with our kind of sales process. I mean, from my side as well, obviously we've got another pitch. We've got a date mid-month, so I will be doing that pitch. So, and you're going to be helping me with the deck, just because I'm away next week on a holiday. How unbelievable, setting up a business, and I've decided to take a week's holiday, but it was pre-booked. So yeah, please let me off of that one. So yeah, I think I'm still confident. I think we've got the momentum in terms of we're a lot further ahead than I thought we would be. I thought we would just be kind of working on the setup, like the website, office, all of those bits and pieces. But actually, the thrust and the most amount of time we spent is actually on the sales opportunities that we've had kind of almost come to us still. We haven't really actively gone through. And again, word of mouth now, like contacts are actually starting to give us kind of leads as well to pursue as well. So I'm still confident, and we learn from that. So yeah, I say that because I haven't had a no quite yet. And when I do, I'll probably get emotional in terms of like,
this guy rubbing it in, off on holiday. Who signed that off? But now he only gets guesses. The closer, unbelievable.
No, that wasn't my intention. There, it's yeah, just to keep our mindsets. Like I want to be a Ted Lasso, full of optimism at this stage, because I'm sure at one point we will both hit the stress levels are high and stuff, and we'll both be. So let's enjoy the good times whilst they're there.
Yeah, I think it's not even that, right? Like, you're right. Like, we're building momentum probably a lot quicker than we thought we would. If we look back at what we'd originally forecast, so 10 weeks ago, maybe even a little bit before then, but 10 weeks ago, if what we think is going to come through comes through, we're way and above where we thought we'd be. So yeah, even with this no, this one that we got the no on would have just been a nice cherry on top, right? Like, it's come from nowhere. It was very quick turnaround. If we close everything that we think we're going to close, we're way and above where we thought we'd be. To the point that I was asked by our current agency, where are all the leads coming from? So that could only be a good sign, right? And we haven't even, as you said, we haven't launched anything. Even on this podcast, we're in week 10. I don't think we named the agency once, have we? Or maybe once. So
no, we've not named it.
We haven't.
We're going to have a launch episode.
We're going to have a launch episode. So we haven't even named the agency on this podcast between you and I. So people don't know about things yet. So hopefully the fact that we're, like you said, we have the number of opportunities that we've had, we're hopefully going to close a few to be further ahead than where we thought we'd be. And then we can start actively marketing ourselves, talking about the things we want to talk about, be very apparent that we're running an agency. It's only a good sign. So yeah, we'll take the no, take it on the chin, and we'll move on.
Absolutely. Okay, so on to our status update then. This is more the operational side of kind of setting up this agency. So this week was actually, I think this is probably the biggest point of the week for me anyway. We got the first draft of our website design back and over. What were your initial thoughts?
Obviously, risky business for me is probably how I'd describe it. My partner is designing the website, but it's been way and above where I thought we'd be for a first draft. And what I mean by that is not that I didn't have faith in being able to deliver something good, but we've been doing this 10 plus years in the web design world. The first draft is never great. And it was a lot closer to where I thought we'd be, to the point that we went through writing amends and things like that yesterday or the day before, whatever it was. And there are so few compared to what we'd normally come up with. Like, that is, again, a great sign of where we're at. And I'm really pleased. Yes, there are some spacing things that need to be worked on. I think we found as well, we've been speaking a lot in this podcast about how we've been working on the copy for the site. We've probably overdone it a little bit, and we need to scale some of that back because in places it is just that little bit too long. But all in all, really pleased with the site. I am not ashamed to say that I do a lot of competitor comparison, up to you, like up to people to decide if that's the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do. But if you put up the ones that I'd class as our top 3 to 5 competitors against that design that we're going with, in my view, you'd have no idea that one of those agencies is day one of their launch. So yeah, I'm really pleased. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely superb. So again, design it properly is my strong point. I know, having worked with you and others in the past, like, my design amends are often derided, but look, I don't have too many there. I really like it. I think the colours especially really, really like help the brand stand out. I think it really matches. To see our copy actually on a page as well, it makes so much more sense. And actually, first look at the site, reading through the copy, I was like, is this the same copy that we signed off like 2 weeks ago? It was a really strange kind of element there, but to see it on page, it's come to life. And I must admit, I was like, wow, okay. I think that was truly the first moment when I saw those designs. Like, it's like, shit, this is actually real. I'm actually doing this. Like, this is ours. This is like our business, and it's got our name on it. And I think that was my overarching kind of thought when I saw that design. Would I be happy to have that out on the web? Yes, simply yes. I think it's really, really good. I think it's better than a lot of agency websites that I see. So yeah, perfect start to the week. I'm excited to see the final drafts and get it into development. And that leads us nicely onto the next point. So we've gone back to Upwork and put a pitch out for help on, we're going to build the website on Webflow because we were recommended it by a good friend who strangely doesn't want to work on the website for us. Which is yeah, but we've got.
I think we should call him out, actually. Callum, if you're listening to this, unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable, mate. You've been struck off the friends register here. So yeah, speak to you never. Not really. So Harry, how many people did we actually have pitch to work for the website, considering it was only up for half a day?
Yeah, so I don't know what number we're on now, but what I do know is as of I put it on around 10:30, 11 a.m. yesterday. We checked back in I think 1, and we'd had 83 proposals for the build of the site.
Mad.
Which is, I was expecting a lot, if I'm honest, just having we've worked in this in the dev world before, and we know that the freelance overseas market especially is very, very competitive. But I think the standard and the fact that all of them could come in very close to the price point, I was taken aback by a little bit. So we had to be incredibly ruthless with our screening process. And we managed to get it down to, I think, 4 We then jumped on a call together, managed to get that down to 2. We've held the first call with one today, one guy, who seemed incredibly professional and incredibly confident that he could turn around the site in an incredibly short period of time. So, but I think he quoted 3 days of work. We know that that's not true, right? Like we know the development world, like take the time, probably double it. But even 6 days to get to where we need to be is great. We have another call on Monday, which, as you mentioned, you're on holiday, so I'll let you miss that one. As you'll probably be driving to just ask the same kind of screening questions, get a feel. But we're in a good place there. So much so that I think we do have a bit of a time lag. So one of the reasons we recommended Webflow is because we've been told it's a very, very robust drag and drop editor, essentially. And that most designers could then turn their work into web pages. My partner, who's, as I said, been designing the website, is pretty confident that she can do just that. So she's going to give from now until Wednesday a crack at this to see how far we get, see how painful that process is, how big the learning curve is. If it's smooth and we're making progress, great, we'll continue on. If it's not and it's becoming too painful, or we start arguing, as an example, like we then know we have 2 people who can start almost immediately and deliver what we need them to deliver well within our window of the next 4 weeks before we launch. So again, something else that I'm feeling pretty confident about.
Perfect. Yeah, like the progress on the website front and finding a developer potentially, we've got 3 options. I think that's more than enough at this stage. I'm confident that obviously that launch window is achievable. I mean, at the end of the day, we're talking like 4 or 5 pages to start with. So it should be, as long as I'm not doing it, it's all good. So then the next point leads us nicely into not only the launch of the website, but the launch of our agency once we leave our current agency. And we're going to go with a launch video. And I'm kind of excited by that because it's content we can place across social media to announce and kind of use snippets of it on the website and so on. How are things going on that front? Again, this is all at you because you're running all of these kind of operational bits whilst I get stuck into delivery and sales.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. So I had a good conversation with the co-founder of the agency we're currently at this week, and he said that one of the things he learned very quickly on, or they were lucky with, is they kind of naturally started to just pick up the things that they enjoyed doing, and then that became their sections of the business, day-to-day operations. And like we're kind of doing the same thing at the moment. Like some of it is how time bound we are with other things. We've spoken about this before, that within the existing agency, you're a lot more involved in the day-to-day than I am. So I am able to maybe, how do I just create a bit more time is probably the way that I will phrase that for now.
Nice.
But yeah, as a result, I'm picking up some of this stuff, plus also like where the relationships sit. So obviously I've known George for a bit of time, and he is the person obviously featured on the podcast prior, who's going to be helping us with that launch video, and has also been messaging me quite frequently about the need for us to be all over this thing called TikTok. So that is the start of that journey for us as well. Like we know, and we actively use it within our strategies, like the influencer element and user generated content forms a huge part of our strategies, but it's also something that we tend to use other people for. Like we'll dictate that strategy, but we won't necessarily do the execution. This is where we need to dictate the strategy and do the execution. So a bit of a learning curve for us. I'm going to get a haircut, you're going to get a beard trim, and then we're going to get on camera and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's going to be the fun part. I'm sure there will be plenty of bloopers that we can kind of share with everyone as well, because like on this podcast, when you call me out for bad like intros and stuff like that, occasionally we have to stop what we're doing and restart the recording because I've messed up and rambled so much. So definitely a challenging, potentially uncomfortable kind of learning curve for me coming up there. And the fun stuff as well, merch, it's your favorite area. I hand it off to you because again it involves design and color and thought, because most of my ideas on the merch front you've kind of no, we're not doing that, which is fair, and I side with your opinion because I think it's an area you excel at. So yeah, how's the merch going?
You make me sound so savage. I think there's an important part of the context there, which is like you're also colorblind, so you can't necessarily tell if the colors go together. So it's not like I'm
Yeah,
just taking
fair
over.
point. Yeah.
But again, it's more context around you and I. During lockdown, we got into the like everyone did. We got into the I guess the D2C space. We did a golf clothing brand that was very much focused on the I guess humorous side of golf, and through that we established some connections. And one of those connections was with a like eco-friendly t-shirt manufacturer, and a relationship that we've maintained. And from day one of this agency, I've been very keen on the merch, right? Like I've been talking to you about like, okay, well, what does the logo look like? Where's it going to sit on the merch? All this sort of stuff. Obviously, fully understanding that merch isn't going to be something that we sell, but is equally something that I think you and I see the same in that pretty much day to day, every day, almost like a uniform for the team as well, and stuff that we can send out to people. So I've been excited to start working on that, and we've placed our first sample order. So just 2 t-shirts to start with, 2 navy t-shirts. They will arrive next week, so you're going to have a week before you get your hands on the first one. But I am very excited for that to come. Yeah, as you said, that's been something that I've been keen on from day one, so I'm excited to see that come.
Yeah, nice. I'm looking forward to it as well. It's the Mark Zuckerberg approach to work. Like, I don't want to think about what I'm wearing to work. I just want to be in a uniform and to have your own company branded kind of uniform. Yeah, I'm all for that. So next is the office and the segment to office or not to office. So we've decided where we're going to work from like the first few months of setting up whilst we grow. We are at Northampton Innovation Centre and we're kind of all booked. You've got the contract ready to go in your inbox. We have agreed that we're going to go to a slightly bigger office because in case we need to collaborate with people, I think it's the right choice. So we're ready to sign that off, and the contract we're just kind of waiting, just making sure. Ideally, and like you said earlier to me, do we want to wait and sign a client or two before we actually sign the contract, or do we just go with it?
Yes, I think that's where the office or not to office question comes in, and there's actually a few parts to this. So again, I mentioned I had a good meeting with the co-founder of our current agency this week. And this is how great they've been as well, is the whole session was just me firing questions at him around starting an agency. And one of the questions I asked him was around, if you were to start from scratch, would you be fully remote? Would you have an office? Would you be somewhere in between? And he was a big advocate for not so much now, like totally different place, right? They're like 50 plus people hired essentially all over the country and in some cases all over the world as well. But he was like, if he was starting again from scratch, he would be very much pro office, pro that almost like nucleus of people where the heartbeat of the company is day to day bouncing ideas off each other and like driving and innovating forward. That is something that you and I had also spoken about, right? Which is there is going to be, regardless of cost, like the net positive of just you and I being in the same room, not having to talk to each other via video call, like not almost to a point wasting time typing and things like that, should be a positive. And I've been a big advocate of like, forget it, like forget the cost, let's just put pen on paper and we'll worry about the cost later, we'll make it up. As I think working with you a bit more, understanding the finances, I guess not understanding the finances is probably the wrong phrase, but like being a bit more realistic, if that's what you want to say, there is that question of like do we get the client sign on paper and then do we commit to the office space? And that's probably the reason for this segment, right? Which is like, what do we do? Do we wait or do we sign? So it's either to office or not to office, or I guess to sign or not to sign. I have an opinion on that. And I guess we thought it'd be fun to figure out if we sit on the same side of the fence live on the podcast.
Yeah, so I'll go first with my opinion. I think I was sold with the idea. I think it's actually a lot easier if we're in the same room, that we can bounce ideas off. We can potentially work on the same pieces of work. At the end of the day, it's not the most expensive kind of outlay. I think it's reasonable for what it is. I think it gives us purpose. It allows us to be consistent, get that consistent 7-8 hours a day. Even together, we can kind of keep ourselves more accountable if we're in the same room and just essentially grow together, if that makes sense. Sounds a bit weird, but even so, I'm not worried about cost. I'm worried about value, and to me, I think the office is going to be valuable for us at the start of our journey. So I think if it's, am I right in thinking it can be as kind of long as we want? It's kind of a month by month or a 3 month kind of term, and on that basis, I would definitely go for the office.
Yeah, I mean the way the contract is structured is very much like an agency contract. So they're 12-month contracts, but they have break terms in them. So
Yeah.
like that then depends on how you want to see a contract, right? Like the traditional makeup seems to be agencies a 12-month contract with a 6-month break. So you call it a 12-month contract, but essentially you're signing a 6-month deal. So it's random tangent about like when the break clauses are as to how long the actual contract length is. But yes, essentially my understanding, which we need to get the terms for the larger office. We'll then read those terms. But yeah, essentially what you're saying. I think I sit on the same side of the fence. For me, I'm like, we also know what we have from a bankroll perspective, what we expect to be coming in, what we're forecasting. Like for me, at the price that office is coming in at, even if it was a 12-month agreement, 1 or 2 pieces of work cover that entire year's cost. So it's not a huge cost. Like I'd do it even for that year and back ourselves. Like I'm really not worried about that. So I think there's a middle ground. Like we get the terms, we probably delay it a little bit, and then go for it as we get a slightly clearer picture of reality. But yeah, I think our first day of like the day we launch will be our first day in the office.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I don't want either of us to be in the office before the other. We both need to walk in there together and be
hand in hand. Absolutely. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, set up our nice sales gong and all of those elements in the office, and yes, get that all sorted. So I think when we walk in there and sit down, that will be like
that'll be the oh shit moment for me, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like, wow, have we made the right decision immediately, straight there? So we're probably going to have to add a bit to that room, add some personality as well. But I think the other benefit of an office is to allow other people to come in and collaborate with us. Like you say, George with the video, or, designers coming in just to chat and kind of talk to people and all of that. Plus it gives us a face for clients, because clients can actually come to the office as well. We can meet, we can go out for lunch and so on. So all for the office. I'm now conscious we've got 5 minutes until you're off on a client meeting for the current agency at 4:30 on a Friday. I mean, amazing.
That's commitment. But if any prospective clients are listening, that's the kind of commitment you can expect. 4:30 on a Friday, still taking calls.
I like it. Nice. But to give you enough time to bring a topic to the table, which is my favourite segment, where Harry tends to talk about a certain topic area. We're going to pause that this week. Let's do it next week. Okay.
Maybe we can do 2.
Maybe we can do 2. Maybe I can do 1.
Now we're talking.
Now we're talking. Yeah. So, because in my role as the kind of host or the MC of this podcast, self-titled, I need to keep us on time and make sure you get to your meeting on time. So yeah, let's do that. And quickly, 2 minutes, weekly commitments, our final segment on the podcast. How did you do with your weekly commitments, and what are you going to do next week?
I think for the weekly commitments of last week, pretty much. Let me just double check. We do write them down. So let me just double check what I put in here. So I put continue sales, sort merch, finalize web design, and organize the launch video. I'd say not bad towards that, right? Like we're continuing the sales. They're going in the direction. Sample of the merch is ordered. Web design is 90-ish% there. We should get the amends hopefully all approved before you go away on Monday. And launch video is being organized, starting to plan with George next week. So I'd say for last week, not too bad. In terms of what this next week is looking like for me, 1 sales proposal absolutely must be done. So that will be done. Going to continue on with target accounts. We haven't mentioned them, but we are making good progress on those. So we're 50% of the way there for sector number 1, and we're 60% of the way there for sector number 2. So fairly significant progress from the last time we mentioned target accounts. And then one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about, but I haven't actually put anything on paper, is the marketing plan and what that looks like in the early days. So for your reading when you're back will be a bit of a marketing plan as well.
Yeah, great. And for me, I've also had a productive week. I've obviously been focused on delivery for this client. So tech audit, main thing. I've got a couple of bits to finish off, but it won't take long. So that's a tick. I've also managed to do more target accounts this past week than I have for the previous 5 weeks. So definite progress there. So on those sides, obviously helping with sales and liaising with potential leads and elements like that on the sales front, and supporting on web design and elements like that. And yeah, next week, my commitment is to enjoy myself on a sunny North Wales beach, maybe one day if it doesn't rain. But no, I've already prepped the wife that I will be available to you, Harry, for calls and like sign offs. I'll take my laptop. So I'm pretty sure I've got Wi-Fi. We're staying at an Airbnb cottage, so we can probably catch up, because certain bits like the final draft of the web design and elements like that definitely want to be involved in. So yeah, that's my week next week.
Nice. And we have an early round of golf tomorrow. So what a way to end the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose on that note, we can finish up unless there's anything else.
Nothing more from me.
Perfect. Well, I'll be saying this to you on the first tee tomorrow morning as well, but swing well, putt true. To help us build our audience, please like, share and subscribe. If you listened on Apple or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star review. And if you watched us on YouTube, please leave a question or comment and we'll get back to you. Thank you.